Now, when it generated the workout context, it actually added database connection string code to app settings.json. Okay. Prior to having it generate the context, the connection strings did not exist. Okay. So it added connection strings. And what this is saying is that our server is going to be right now a local database, which is on, your local computer, and it's an MS SQL database. The name of the database, okay, database equals is going to be the name, is this very long name, which honestly I don't like. So I typically change this. Okay. And so I'm going to just call it workout DB. Okay. And then the rest of the settings you do not want to change. Trusted connection equals true means that it's going to use, when you use MS SQL Server, which handles SQL databases, it uses your Windows login to authenticate. And so that's what it's asking. Trusted connection true will use your Windows login to authenticate. And then multiple active results set equal true allows multiple queries to be executed on the same database connection simultaneously, which means that once this is deployed, we could have somebody deleting an exercise. We could have somebody adding a user. They can be doing multiple things at once, and we want that on. Okay, so that was automatically added for us. The other file that was modified, so I'm going to save all of this and just going to close. As you can see, you end up with all sorts of pages open in these projects. So I'm just basically pressing my mouse wheel to close these. All right. So now I'm going to open up my program CS because we had some dependencies added here as well. All right. So what we have added here, if we kind of look from top to down, this file is basically used for dependencies. It is the entry point of the application. And so let's see. Variable builder equal web application dot create builder creates the application host, and it sets up configuration and logging and something called dependency injection. Dependency injection basically takes objects, and anything that the object is dependent on, it provides to the object. And that results in a little faster processing. Okay. So we create this little object here called builder. And then builder is used to add Razor pages to our project. Builder is also used to add the database to the project. Okay, add DB context, workout context. You can see that was our context file. And then we have to specify some options. So we're telling it to use SQL Server. We're telling it what our connection string is. Okay. And obviously, if we do not have a valid connection string, it is going to throw an error. So all of this is pretty standard. And if you don't generate a context file, what you will have to manually add is the DB context statement. Okay, and it's basically going to be like this. And you will, whatever you have named that workout context file, okay, that is what you end up having to put in here for your data type, and then put in here for your connection string name. So this should also be over here. So it's all connected. Okay, so if you do not generate it, you have to manually add it, but it's really not that big of a deal because you can literally take an existing connection string and copy it and change the workout context and the database name. Okay. Everything else should be in here by default. So we'll just take a quick little look. This is for development. Okay. It handles exceptions, redirects to an error page. This will, if somebody keys in HTTP instead of HTTPS, it redirects to HTTPS. That's why it's called HTTPS redirection. Routing. So in our applications, when we run them, routing is what displays the different pages. Okay, so you can manually key routing information into the URL, or you can use menu commands. Okay, but that's what routing is. Authentication. If we decide the users need to authenticate, this is turned on, so we don't have to worry about that. Static assets and Razor pages with static assets. Having those in there, this is basically called middleware, but it maps our images, okay, and our CSS and our JavaScript to our view pages. So basically it allows us to display the images and to use our CSS. And then down here is where the command is to actually run the application. And let's see. I am going to show you, there is something else that you would possibly add to app settings. We're going to take another look at that. Okay, we talked about connection strings, but I'm just going to quick talk about what this other stuff is that you see in here. And then if you wanted to connect to an API, this is where you would do it. Okay, so the logging information up here. This is one little set of information. It sets the minimum log level for the entire application. And that means that it will log information and it's going to log warnings. Critical levels are also going to be recorded. However, it's going to pretty much ignore trace levels, debug that kind of thing, which is fine. We don't need to change that. Right? And this next section, allowed hosts, we want to keep that where it is. And then the connection strings was generated. However, if you don't generate a context, you have to add it. Now, if you want to connect to an API, this is where you have to add the code. And the code is JSON. And when you add API information, you have to add it as an external service. Okay, and then you're going to give it the name of the API, a colon, and the URL, and more importantly, your key. Okay, and there may be additional features you need to add, but the API should tell you what that is. Okay, but this is where you would add it. Alrighty. So at this point, I'm going to save everything. The only thing we've changed is the name of the database, and I'm going to go ahead and run a build.